welcome your tune into ET Now Hangouts with me, Ankita Saxena. Well, in the recent news, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her 7th straight budget on the 23rd of July. Well, this surpasses the record of Morarji Desai, who had presented the budget for 6 times. Well, the presentation on 23rd of July is the first budget by the BJP-led NDA government since its re-election in the month of June. Well, one of the significant announcements that affect the common man were on the ones on standard deduction of the salaried employees. That was hiked to 75,000 rupees from 50,000 rupees under the new income tax regime in FY25, allowing the salaried class to save up to 17,500 rupees in taxes under the new regime. Well, there were also some of good news coming in for the startups ecosystem also, with the abolition of angel tax. Well, to discuss the impact of this on startup ecosystem and the youth, we are joined by Kunal Ambasta, co-founder and chief investment officer at Liquide. Thank you for joining us today. So what is your first take on the budget? Let's get started with what were the positives, the negatives, what were the yay and the nay moments, and what does it imply for people like you and I?
So I'll answer it in 2 parts. The first part is, if you are a common man who doesn't do a lot of trading or maybe investing, then this budget has technically everything that you can ask for. Right, I mean, think about it. It has started with a good 11 lakh crore capex across all the sectors. So there is a boost for women, employment, youth, infrastructure, annadata, farmers. I mean, everything is covered. Along with that, we have also got a good tax slab rate rebate as well. So I think we cannot ask for anything more from this budget. But if you are somebody who is actually doing a lot of trading, you are among those 45 lakh users who are doing a lot of F&O tradings and doing a lot of short-term trading, stock investing. Then you'll have to take it with a pinch of salt, because there are some things that we were not expecting technically, right? So long-term tax gain from 10 to 12.5% is something that we were definitely not expecting, and this can be a little bit of a party spoiler. But barring this, I think no complaints from the budget, and we are pretty happy with the way FM has actually presented that.
Additionally, what gave a little bit of a jitter in the market was the fact that FM proposed the raising of long-term capital gains tax from 10 to 12.5%, the STCG from 15 to 20%, and also STT on futures and options, trading to 0.02% from 0.1% respectively. Now, up until now, the equity has always enjoyed a premium position in the investment. Is this tinkering with the LTCG, STCG rates going to impact the flows in equity? Given that we have been hitting record highs in demat accounts, SIPs, is that likely to get impacted, or how are we going to, the general people, the general retail investor, likely to react to this in the short term and the long term?
I'll not consider this as a dampener for a longer term, but yeah, short term, definitely there can be a little bit of a jitter. We all know that, over a period of time, we digest the things. And I mean, think about it, 5-10 years before, there was no long-term tax as well. But now we have digested that it is going to be 10%. And over a period of time, we will digest that as well, 12.5%. So for somebody who is actually new to the market, does a lot of trading, he will have to be a little bit careful, understanding that the short-term tax gain has moved from a 15% to a 20%. And along with that, there has been some additional taxes, right, in terms of STTs, also whatever he is paying. So there also you'll have to pay additional taxes. So his net take home will actually reduce. He will have to be a lot more prudent in taking the trades that he is taking, right? So this is something that people will have to understand over a period of time. But the way that we are seeing that short-term trading cult in India, I don't think this is going to change the behavior. The behavior right now is, I'll come all in and then I'll start doing it. And I think that is why, in order to discourage this particular behavior, this tax slab has actually been increased. But we are actually surprised about the long-term tax gain moving from 10 to 12.5%. And this may have a longer term impact. And we are yet to see the, I mean, we have just received this, I mean, yesterday, but we'll still have to see how FIIs actually take that, and somebody who is doing a long-term investing, and this 2.5% additional tax means a lot. I mean, just putting it to the perspective, uh, assume that with a nifty 12 to 13 or 12 to 15% CAGR over a period of time. Think about it, you know, if you would have invested 100 rupees and you would have got 15% return, barring the 10% tax. So technically 1.5 rupees tax, your net take home is 13.5. Now, in order for you to take this 13.5 rupees take home, you will have to get 15.5% return. So that is the additional 0.5% return you will have to earn. Number wise, 0.5% looks pretty less, but think it from that perspective as to whenever there is a, whenever there is a rate change, rate cut happens, that happens in 0.25 or 0.5, and that kind of moves the needle for the stock market for a shorter term. So this is big. LTCG 10 to 12.5% is big, but we still have to see, you know, how the longer term investor will take it. But from the shorter term side, I don't think uh, right now India actually cares about, you know, how much ever tax we are paying. And another part to consider is where will you go? I mean, this is the only place wherein, you know, people have made money in last 4 5 years. You put it to FD, you will not get that much of a return. You put it to the real estate, now you may for a shorter period of time, but most of us will not have that much of a money to start putting it into real estate as well. So this is the only option we have, and I would say that people will digest it and things will move as is after good 2 3 months or so.
Given the sweetener that has been thrown to us in the form of standard deductions, what will be the impact of it on the consumption cycle? You know, given that we are coming off a 2-3 year low because of inflation, unemployment, now that the government has increased the standard deduction limit to 75,000 rupees, allowing the salaried class to save up to, around 17,500 in taxes under the new tax regime, how is this likely to boost consumption?
Yes, so this is something pretty interesting, right? So along with the tax slab rate change, this additional 25,000 tax rebate, right? Whatever is the standard deduction from 50,000 to 75 that has come. I think this is actually going to boost the cycle. And, you know, taking it to the perspective, think about you have a, 10 lakh salary, then, or rather 10 lakh of income, then technically you are, with this new rule, you are saving like 10,400 rupees. 10,400 rupees a year is definitely a bigger number when you multiply it with the number of individual falling into that bracket, right? So that much of disposable amount will actually start flowing into, into the market, either the market or mutual fund, or definitely the consumption cycle. So think of it, the FMCG sectors, maybe the auto manufacturing company, I mean, all other areas, wherever we do the consumption, all other sector will start getting a boost. So pretty positive about those. They were kind of underperforming as well. So the valuation is still right. At least for the FMCG part, if I would have to say that, you know, this is also a safer bet in terms of whenever market sees a bit of turbulence, we hide into these places, right? So we call these as a safer bet. So I think this is something that is actually going to boost in near term.
Also, a big positive that has come for the startup ecosystem is the abolition of the angel tax. Well, how do you see this impacting the startup ecosystem, the VC ecosystem? You know, given that we are coming off a funding winter, if you will, you know, for the startup ecosystem, where fundraising had become a little difficult. Is this a new lease of life for startups?
Yeah, being a startup co-founder, I can definitely say this is a very welcoming step. We thank Madam Sitharaman for that. And earlier in the startup world, we were calling that as a draconian law. So the idea was earlier the, I mean, let me explain what this angel tax was, right? So it was like somebody, some AO, right, or SSC officer will give a fair value to the company. And with startup, usually there are no defined cash flows, based on that, they can give the fair value. And for fair value, they use the DCF method, and there are multiple different methods that is at the discretion of AO. And usually that is so think of like if I have a company for which the face value is 10 rupees and the fair value is 50 rupees, but if I am taking it with a 100 rupees per share, then this additional 50 rupees is something startup will have to pay the taxes if they are not registered with DPIIT. And even with DPIIT, there were a lot of rules and regulations startup had to navigate through. Now the things are simplified, right? With no taxes, I think this is a very welcoming step, and I see a lot of money will start flowing into the startup ecosystem. And as the startup ecosystem will start flourishing, then new job will be created, new ideas, new innovation will start creating. The unlisted market will start getting a further boost, right? So very positive about it, very welcoming step. And we were waiting for this for quite a long time, but now it has come and we are actually enjoying that.
There's also news coming in on the real estate part as well, where the indexation has been removed on the sale of property. Whereas the tax has been reduced to 12.5% from a 20%. How does one read into this?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of analysis people are actually doing. We are also doing the maths around that, but think of it from the perspective of somebody holding it for a longer term. I think earlier with the earlier process they would have got a lot better relief. But somebody who is doing a real estate or a investment for good 3, 4, 5 years or so, he will be better off with the new scheme. But somebody who is actually putting it for a longer term, I mean, usually we take home and we take like 15, 20 year of loan, right? So idea is to keep that for a longer period of time. And now what will happen is we will lose the indexation benefit for a longer term. So every year, think of it like we are losing 4.5% for next 20 years. And the rebate that I have got is like 7.5%. So definitely for a longer run, stock market or rather, real estate investment might see a hit, but we still have to analyze as to, how people react to it. Good part is REIT has come back to a 1 year LTCG category, so that is definitely a welcoming step. But from the other asset classes, I think we are thinking that people will have to digest that, and it may not have a very positive impact on the real estate.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today and weighing in on the budget.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.